So, hey friends, this is me, Vishwasnan. I'm the host of this webinar. A lot of times you might have it puzzled out about, hey, you know what? This is what is ethical AI all about. This is what is an AI system is built for. But I think somewhere down the line, when the algorithm and the complexity and the strategies of building out something on an AI system is coming on to the demand of, can I bring the human element into And I think somewhere down the line, you have to rethink ethic and you have to reform factor your algorithm. I think Priyanka Shah is not just going to give you an big picture of the AI and anything, but she's going to give you an amazing insight about how to build a brain on a burning box. That's a CPU. And here I am with Priyanka Shah. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for being on the show. It means a lot.
No problem, Vishwas. As usual, thank you for having me and a happy new year to you and to our audience as well.
Sure, sure. Let's get the session started because it's time for you to give your introduction and start with the journey of teaching us what's an ethical AI all about.
Sure. So you just let me know if you can see my screen, and my screen is very busy. Okay.
Uh,
Hold on. I'm going to share my full screen with all of you. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
no, not yet. It's not yet up. Are you sharing a tab?
Okay. That's weird.
Not a problem. Just you can just.
Can you see now?
Yep, I can see now. Yes.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So
Sure,
are
we
you
can
able to
start
see
it.
the presentation mode?
Yep, I can. I'm able to see the presentation mode.
All right. Okay. So let's get the ball rolling. And what better way to start the new year rather than learning about ethical AI, right? Which is all the buzz right now. Okay. So, hey, folks, welcome once again. And this is Priyanka here. A brief introduction about me. So, I am Microsoft AI MVP. I also lead the AI IoT business out of Southeast Asia region in Avanad. I am a mentor on Code Without Barriers program in Microsoft, and also lead the sustainability agenda for Microsoft, right? So you can reach me on my Twitter handle, which is fuzzymind1, or my LinkedIn, which is right here. Okay. So our agenda for the presentation would be will be introducing to ethical AI. So what is all the buzz about ethical AI? Right, we will look about we will have a look at data curation and how data is actually gathered and models are trained for ethical AI. And we will look at demos, and we'll look at Power BI dashboard. What is the future of ethical AI, and we'll keep the session interactive as always, right? So of course, this sentence it doesn't do any justice. Is artificial intelligence the new hype? Of course, it is the new hype, right? I mean, with the recent news about Chat GPT and the wonders it can do, and the the amazement which it creates, the type of questions which can answer, there is no need to state that artificial intelligence is indeed the new hype. And there will be more avenues and more sectors which will be usurped by AI. Not technically usurped, but meaning revolutionized by AI, right? So just before we delve into ethical AI, and why we have the need to have ethical AI frameworks, and what is the deal with responsible AI, and so on and so forth, I just want to state the new avenues and the new territories which AI is conquering. Okay, so let us talk about Chat GPT alone. Chat GPT, if you watch a very nice clip about Satya Nadella. So Satya Nadella recently was on a tour of all the Microsoft development centers across the entire world, right? And I had the privilege of actually meeting him in person and apprising him about certain sustainability and AI for a better initiatives, AI for community initiatives, right? So he was talking to all of us, and even in Bangalore, he was in Bangalore recently, and he was talking about his favorite breakfast food, and he happened to mention it to Chat GPT. Okay, and he actually asked Chat GPT that write a dialogue between idli and dosa and have them argue about which is the better breakfast food. And Chat GPT actually gave out a script for a dialogue between idli and dosa, and it perfect sense the way two characters were arguing about their nutritional value, right? A second instance is someone asked Chat GPT to imagine that if a cat were a dentist, cat as in our domestic cat, feline family, what if a cat is a dentist, what it would do, right? And it could actually write a sort of a thesis about what would it seem like when in a world where a cat is a dentist. So it actually gave a sentence which I was astonished and I was blown away by the analogy it made. So it said that the cat would be polishing fangs, right? So now we know that a human dentist polishes teeth. So it extended that analogy, and it actually came out with this coherent sentence or coherent idea, which says that a cat dentist would polish fangs and claws and whatnot, right? So absolutely, there is no need of stating the revolution which AI is bringing in, right? So jobs of the future, and powerful tool for businesses and organizations, right? But all the same, right, all the same, I mean, we do hear about all these beautiful things, all these astonishing things which AI ushers in. But have you heard of some of the failures, right? So let us look at some of the astounding and baffling failures of AI as well. And of course, how so these AI fails, these epic AI failures were of course ago, but that doesn't exclude us from the fact that given the new areas which AI is conquering, these failures would not surface, or how to contain some of these failures, or some of these wannabe failure cases. All right. So again, Amazon AI, okay, Amazon Recruitment AI, how it works was, it was supposed to offload the burden of your talent acquisition team, HR team, recruitment team. And it would just type in the keywords, and it would get you the best matched resumes. So instead of scourging through hordes of resumes and manually checking, opening and clicking keywords, the hard work, I mean, all of that, getting the perfect resumes was offloaded to the AI algorithm. So it would fetch you a tailored set of resumes, and probably the HR just had to pick out of that curated set, right? So probably it would give you a set of top five candidates for that role, and the HR just had to pick the best one, right? So now the problem was, why did it fail? It was a high volume hiring project. Why it failed? Because it couldn't stop the tool from discriminating against women and against minority representation. For example, a black disabled male or a black disabled female, right? So more often than not, it came up with a white male candidate most of the time for most of its job descriptions. And that was not the fault of the AI, right? Absolutely not the fault of the AI. But nevertheless, it ended up being sexist, right? So Amazon sexist AI recruiting tool, right? So what was the failure? And there are many such examples, right? So we'll actually go through many of such epic AI failures, and also not in the past, but some of these biases or some of these inadequacies also seeping into our future AI platforms as well. Okay, so what caused the failure? Again, we say that your AI is only as good as your data. right? So if your data is not diverse enough, if your data set is not rich enough, if your data set is not representative enough, then it is going to have this narrow predictions, it is going to have your human biases. So as a human, you have some inherent biases, you have some inherent opinions, right? And not because you're, you're mean, or you are purposefully doing that, but you have your own opinions, you have your own set of culture values. And when you're training a data set, those values automatically get transferred or reflected in the kind of data you're sourcing, right? And that is also to say that, that speaks volumes about what sort of data you are looking into. So let's say if I'm looking at probably, natural calamities related to Southeast Asia, I am only going to represent that demographic which is there in Southeast Asia. Or probably, most of the data which is available, the open source data which is available, free data which is available. So most of the data is also gathered from American banks or Western banks, or prosperous nations. So even that data is heavily biased towards the demographics which are represented by those regions, right? So some way or the other, the open source data availability, or the data which you are trying to train, that will have your inherent biases reflected, right? And then because of which your AI algorithm might have that shortcomings or weaknesses, right? So your AI is only as good as your data, which is why there is a need to have the data itself representative of a lot of other factors, rather than just the core case which we are looking at, right? And which is why data curation, data accumulation, data cleansing, data fetching, these are all very, very, very essential before you even move on to building your AI model, right? And this is correctly, this statement reflects automated system. So automated systems are not inherently neutral, they are not, right? They reflect our priorities, preferences, prejudices, who have, so us who have actually built the AI, right? So for example, if you see the gender classifier of Microsoft, or the face algorithm, or the face detection algorithm of IBM, more often than not, right, for for detecting, just give me a second, again this is automated sustainability, so if I don't move, my my power goes off, okay? So right, so if you look at the gender classifier for all of these different leading companies, okay, leading tech companies, financial AI systems significantly misgender women and darker skinned individuals, okay, because most of the representative data is Caucasian candidates, okay? So yeah, your AI is only good as your data. Now, why is ethical AI needed? Okay, for efficiency, for complying with laws and regulations, for operating based on certain ethical standards. Okay, so now the application of ethics to your digital programs or surroundings, to make your programs more respectful, socially responsible, sustainable, and governed. Okay, so these there are a set of standards which will ensure that as AI pervades more and more of our social, personal, digital spaces, we should have some standards to govern the programs itself. Okay, so the digital paradigm itself. Okay, and this is why we have this set of standards which we call as digital ethics. Okay, so how do we talk about digital ethics? It is about improvement more than right versus wrong. Okay, so it's not like as I said, that we purposefully invent technology to be evil. It's not that. Okay, but then it's technology, right? Like human beings, we go wrong, or we make right decision, we make wrong decisions, accidents happen. Same way, it is much the same thing that is going to happen with your programs. With their programs, at the end there are bound to be bugs, so we don't purposefully introduce the bugs, but then what should happen, what should be the corrective measure taken if an inadvertent error occurs or action occurs, okay, or transferring the ownership from the technology to the person who built the technology or to the organization that harvested the technology. These are some of the questions we need to answer, right? So it's not like a battle between right and wrong. It is some sort of a governing framework which is put in place for preventing missteps, misuse, abuse, and all of the other negative consequences, okay. And it is also a framework to describe processes, decisions, behaviors. So what if this happens, how should the program react, or what should be the logical next step after this kind of an occurrence. And it is fundamentally about people, right? So it is fundamentally about ensuring the safety, ensuring the good of past partners, employees, customers, uh, investors, stakeholders, right? So it is about preserving the social consensus of all these various stakeholders in the technology that partake in the technology. And how does this relate to AI, right? So we've talked about ethics, so how does it relate to AI now? Responsible or ethical AI is the application of all these ethics which we saw for AI technologies, right? So that continuously after reinforcing these kind of standards, or making people invent or innovate with these standards in mind, we will be able to build more reliable, robust, and safe systems, right? So, like as I said, right, who is responsible for the Amazon AI denying minority people or denying colored people the chance of equal employment? Because of the data, the inherent flaw in the data, how the data was gathered and how the model was trained, it did deny people of equal opportunity, employment opportunity. So who will own up, who will be the responsible person or the authority for denying people equal opportunity for employment? Similarly, in case in the case of driverless cars, an accident occurs, okay, so who should take the responsibility? I had a very interesting conversation few years ago with the actual cab driver, and we were talking about robotic cars and self-driving cars and so on and so forth. So he was telling me that imagine a scenario that you have to go from point A to point B. So let's say from your home to your airport. And of course, be it human drivers or be it AI driven robotic cars, the goal is to optimize the distance, right? So choose even our GPS, right? It will show us the distance of lesser traffic and the most optimum route from point A to point B. Now imagine the case that it was a robotic car, and suddenly patient, I mean the person who's sitting there as a passenger, suffers a massive heart attack, and the car has to now reroute itself to a hospital rather than to the end destination. So as a human driver, I will have that cognizance, or I will have that last minute decision making to reroute and actually make this detour and take the person to the hospital in case he's suffering a heart attack. But is it the case with robotic cars? So unless this kind of thing happens, and you program it into the AI that in case of medical emergencies, don't think of optimizing your route, but instead take a detour and take that person to the hospital. But this scenario occurs, then we do the reinforcement learning, transfer learning, and make the AI robust. But before that AI can become robust and learn new things, this eventuality has already happened, right? So who will take care of these kind of eventualities, fatal happenings, accidents, right? So which is why you have these framework, so that you will check mark before you release the AI, before you release the algorithm for public use. There will be of standards which will check off your AI, and then you know where to transfer the ownership to in case something out of the normal happens, or something out of the blue happens. So this is ethical AI issues, as I said, right? Inside Google's struggle to control its racist and sexist AI, Tesla needs to fix its deadly autopilot problem. which is was Microsoft AI chatbot. So it was supposed to be a friendly teenage chatbot, and Microsoft forgot the possibility that bots could be spammed. Okay, so that bot was supposed to grow more intelligent after positive interactions with teenagers, with the Twitter public in general. But it did not take into account the possibility that there could be negative reinforcement also on the bot, and there were some people who spammed the bot with anti-Semitic messages and racist messages. And from being a friendly teenage bot, it went to a bot who wanted to annihilate the human race within a matter of 12 hours, right? So again, a failure to anticipate this kind of negative reinforcement and how it can corrupt the bot. Okay, so filtering out unwanted messages, or filtering out negative reinforcement, this was something also which is needed. IBM Watson's medical AI is well known, right? I mean, instead of helping cancer patients, it did a wrong diagnosis, and that could have endangered a lot of patients. Again, facial recognition, it matched 28 members of Congress to criminal mugshots, right? And Facebook translates good morning into attack them, leading to arrest. So these are, the people abusing technology, giving negative reinforcement and wrong reinforcement to technology. Nevertheless, technology should be able to intercept these kind of wrong things, and then be able to correct, at the same time be able to charge people in cognizance of the negative reinforcements they make. Okay, again, China is blockchain for social credit system. It's just not just technology that is going to put us in danger, but the way organizations are actually harvesting technology. So look at HoloLens and computer vision and your CCTV cameras or your drone technology. It could be harnessed, harvested by governments, or harnessed by individuals to spy on us, right? Or to have a continuous monitoring, GPS real time tracking. And which is what we actually see the power of social media in these respect, right? So they can rig elections, and they can actually influence big geopolitical happenings, correct? So not only the AI in itself, but the way organizations and governments harness that technology also makes a big huge impact on how all of these should be managed in public space, right? So this is the entire motivation for digital ethics itself. So there will be rules, so you have to follow those rules. Then there will be enforcing policies beyond legal requirements to avoid brand damage and other losses, right? So for example, updates to privacy policies and notifications to avoid creep factor that might decrease customer loyalty. So before I get the customer to accept, or before I get the customer to accept a data privacy, data sharing sort of an agreement, they should be made aware of what they are signing up for, right? And there should be principles, like principles to define what is wrong, principles to uphold the privacy and the safety of stakeholders, customers, employees, investors, right? And now there are certain things which we need to mitigate. Okay, so biases, as we already said, right? The data sets which we use or which are available, they are reflective of our own personal values, opinions, and which is why biases creep into AI algorithms as well. So the famous ImageNet database, right, for example, has far more white faces than non-white faces. So obviously, right, so when we train our AI algorithms to recognize facial features using that particular database, it doesn't have the right balances. Okay, so which means the proportion of eyebrows, eyes, nose, height of individuals, that will also have a bearing on the type of data set which you have used for training. Second is control and morality. Okay, so for example, now as I said, right, that AI would have to make a split second decision, right? So one example is of high frequency trading. So now you know that most of our algorithms are trading algorithms are AI versus AI. There is very less human factor involved there. Okay, again, as I said, right, with the usage of drones, there is a policy for controlling the usage of drones, that you cannot, not anybody can just buy and fly a drone. You need a certification for that. You cannot fly a into public spaces or into residential areas, and cannot use it to spy on individuals and stuff like that. So defining these moral standards, again same is true for our autonomous cars as well. So imagine a scenario where an autonomous car, so it has to be fed with a set of principles, right, or of a set of rules, correct? So the utmost important rule for an automated autonomous driving car is that the safety of the passenger. But what happens, if a child suddenly crosses the road, then what sort of split second decision algorithm make? The safety of the passenger, or the safety of the child who's come in front of the car, or try to damage itself while saving both the passenger and the child. So these kind of moral framework has to be defined. Probably in case of a human driver, the human cognizance or the human factor will kick in, right, and then accordingly it will make the decision. But what about an algorithm with a pre-programmed set of instructions? How do you inculcate morality into that? So this is also a big aspect of responsible and ethical AI. Again, I need not harp about it. What is the importance and significance of having privacy, right? Data privacy, about collecting customer data, harnessing it, harvesting it. And we all know, like, the recent Facebook pages conspiracy, and a lot of news around that, how data was used and misused, and how algorithms are actually tailored to user taste, and how they actually even go to the extent of rigging elections. Power balance is again a very interesting point here. Interesting point here means, companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google, etc. are, they are the prominent names. Microsoft and all, they are prominent names in AI, right? And then they actually, they own most of the AI space. They own most of the innovation space. Okay. And sort of, it has become a monopoly and oligarchy for this few companies. So they, that doesn't make AI inclusive and diverse enough, right? So if the power balance is in the hands of the companies or few countries, and it is well known that the next powerful country or nation would be the one who knows how to harness and how to harvest AI, right? So most of the developing nations are striving for that balance. So this needs to be mitigated as well, that instead of investing this having this power in the hands of a few powerful people, or organizations, it should be more diverse, it should be more distributed, and that is quintessential to making AI more inclusive. And that is like the base, fundamental base for ethical AI. We talked about ownership, right? So we had this issue a couple of months ago, where with the help of DAL-E, I hope people have experimented with DAL-E. So DAL-E, which is like DALLE, right? DAL-E is a tool, so where it's an API basically, so where it creates painting based on sentences. So you can try giving sentences like, show me how would Bangalore look like 20 years into the future, and it will actually sketch out a futuristic vision of Bangalore, much like a human artist. Or try giving it something like Michael Jackson doing salsa inside, or Michael Jackson doing moonwalk in Van Gogh's Starry Starry Night, and it actually understands these terms: Michael Jackson, moonwalk, Van Gogh, Starry Starry Night, and it comes up with the its own original rendition of this kind of a scenario, where Michael Jackson would be doing moonwalk in a Starry Night painting, right? So the point I want to put forth is, how would you define originality, right? So is something which this sort of AI creates, the art which AI creates, that would you call it as original? But again, the entire concept of AI rests on it being able to process a lot of historical information which is given to it. So probably the algorithm was fed with thousands and millions of data sets about artists, about paintings, and so on and so forth. And it is just able to mix and match it and come out with some, remix version, if I can call it, right? So should remix version be created as the original artist, or I mean, that sort of line becomes blurred, right? So, how to assign copyrights, how to patent something, right? So, this kind of ownership assignment is also, it should be addressed by our ethical AI framework. And the most important and most often overlooked is environmental impact. So now we talk about sustainability, we talk about AI for environment, but if an algorithm which is running, to train that algorithm, I have to have a powerful GPU. I have to keep it running for, I don't know, how many days or hours, and model tuning on thousands of parameters and so on and so forth. So that alone is going to have a carbon footprint, right? So the algorithm, the machines, the GPUs, TPUs, which are actually running to train that algorithm itself, are going to incur some carbon footprint. So it's kind of an irony that I am developing an algorithm for sustainability, and that itself is going to create a carbon footprint. So this one is a very telling statement. So training an AI algorithm, for example, can create 7 times more carbon emissions than an average American does in about an year. So which is a very mind-boggling fact, right? So also creating algorithms keeping sustainability in mind, for sustainability as well. So for sustainability, and also they themselves should be sustainable, correct? So and if AI cannot be used for this sort of, so creating a sustainable algorithm itself is incurring a lot of carbon footprint, and we do have to also look for alternatives here. And finally, humanity, right? So how does AI make us feel as, okay? So AI has gotten powerful, fast, efficient, and so on and so forth. So it can actually undermine our humanity, right? So for example, again, I will go back to chat gpt, and let us look at this point from the angle of chat gpt. So in chat gpt, what happens is, typically you're asking questions and it is giving you responses. Again, it is cognitive, it is generative AI, so it can actually do analogies and contextual understanding and all of the beautiful NLP stuff. So the other day, I was reading an article on chat gpt, and actually students are using it for completing assignments, and people are using it for composing emails and so on and so forth, right? That also, so for example, I came across an issue where someone typed in something into chat gpt, and whatever the answer which chat gpt gave, they submitted it to the tutor, or to the examiner. And the examiner, being a cognitive rational person, he, I think, graded the assignment probably, let's say, B plus or B minus. And the argument made was, hey, chat gpt gave me the answer which is a superior intelligence, and how can you give me such a grade? I mean, who are you to override the accuracy of an AI algorithm? So this is implicitly making AI take precedence over human intelligence. This is undermining human intelligence. This is also believing less in ourselves, or losing our own cognitive capabilities, or our own control. So a very funny thing happened the other day, right? Like in my home, it was typically a smart home which is powered by Alexa, so there are smart lights and everything, but that does not exclude the fact, or preclude the fact that if the smart AI is not working, I as a human being can't get up and switch on or off the light. So the other day, there was some error, or maybe some battery low, and Alexa was not able to turn off the bedroom lights during night time. And my 4-year-old was saying that, hey mom, now what do I do? What do I do means get up and turn, flip the switch on and off. So sometimes we lose that control in ourselves to override the AI and take the situation in charge. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to drive home here. So it is also not only making us feel bad about ourselves, giving AI the supremacy over human rational or human individuality, but also losing our own individuality to AI and saying we can do certain things even though your Alexas and your Googles and your Series are not working. Correct? So it is something which needs to be protected by the ethical AI standard. So way to override AI and have a human in loop, right? So again, it's about bridging tech and trust. So having a trust factor for your technology. So this is the security, privacy, do no harm, and digital ethics discussions currently have been too narrow. Okay, but they have to be more inclusive, so they don't not only have to take into account just your privacy, transparency, security, but they also have to consider accessibility, inclusivity, mental and physical, financial well-being, societal things such as political, education, workforce, law enforcement, military, and environment. So it's not only about transparency, data security, and all of that, but increasingly it has to cover even more sectors. Okay. So the scope of digital ethics, it should be personal, societal, environmental, programmatic. Okay. So it should cover all of these different aspects, right? So it some examples of personal. So personal is includes inclusivity, financial health, free speech, personal rights and protections, like programs like Blue Whale, for example, are a danger to children or people who don't know how to use technology correctly, or impressionable minds who are easily swayed by technology. So these also are considerations very important to account. Societal, especially criminal justice, law enforcement, what should happen if there is an abuse of digital technologies. Environmental, we already discussed, right? In environmental also comes to about animal rights and protection. So your installation of your mobile towers is actually disturbing the patterns of bees, killing bees, and disturbing the migration pattern of birds. So that also needs to be taken into account when we talk about 5G, and I don't know what other next G programs is what we are normally talk about. So these ones are transparency, oversight, individual accountability. So these are the ones which are normally covered, but then these are the ones which are largely ignored, right? Societal and mental health, well-being, and environmental well-being. Okay. So there is for example, governments are coming up with frameworks. So there is one framework which is called as AI Verify, and it is a AI governance testing framework and toolkit. So this is open source, and organization should sign up for this sort of toolkit, and this actually helps you to test the claims which you make about your AI software. So these initiatives are now coming into vogue, and as a programmer or as an organization, you can feel free to sign up for the AI Verified toolkit and enrich it as well. So as more and more people participate in these initiatives, they will enrich the framework itself and form the basis of testing your AI claims, right? So if I claim my AI can do certain things, will be a checklist of rules which it should pass, and then also test and counter test the claims which I'm making about my AI. Whether it is a prediction AI, whether it is a classification AI, doesn't unsupervised AI, doesn't matter. But I need to be able to cross check my claims against something, and also be able to tick a checklist of all the factors against which my algorithm will not misfire or malfunction. The purpose of AI Verify, apart from obviously improving transparency of the products, it is also to facilitate compatibility and consistency. So which means what consistency meaning, for one particular area or demographic it might give more accuracy versus running in other area or the demographic should not happen. So if my accuracy if my claim is that my AI is 70% accurate, it should be 70% accurate, irrespective of where I run it, unless I'm specifying that my AI is only for Southeast Asia ladies, for example, right, or Southeast Asia students demographic, for example. So then wherever I run it in Southeast Asia, it should give me the same results irrespective, right? So that is a way in which I should be able to validate my claims. And then development of an international standard for acceptance of your AI. Okay, so this is these are some of the steps being taken, and as more and more companies come to realize. So it's not about just ethical AI has been around for quite some time now, and it has opened a wide array of possible new career options as well, where people are actually thinking into new avenues where responsible AI and ethical AI can be entered into, right? So transparency is the topmost stuff. So transparency, so how the AI is reaching a particular decision, okay, why it is doing what it is doing, that transparency, and I should be able to override that at any point of time. Explainability, so understand and interpret what the AI system is doing. Repeatability, so it should be consistent and it should be able to replicate the results elsewhere as well. So not that today I get a 70% accuracy, tomorrow I get a 90% accuracy by stroke of luck. That should not be the case. It should be safe, it should be secure, it should be robust, it should be fair. That is no right. So one particular demographic should not be meted out any injustice. There should be data governance as well, the way in which you collect the data, and there should be accountability. What if something goes wrong, who should be accountable and what should be done to mitigate that particular error or oversight, right? And there should be always a human in loop, right, in a way that the AI system should be designed in a way that it will not decrease the human ability to make decisions. So AI should empower us and not replace us, right? Okay, and apart from that, as we said, right, it should be inclusive, societal, environmental, all of these factors as well. So now let us look at some of the Microsoft AI principles, and these are an evolving, as we said. So these are the six main tenets, and these are evolving as more and more are conquered by AI, and more avenues are coming into picture. Okay, so now let us look at one of the demos which we did for exploring ethical AI. So we talked about why ethical AI is needed, but now how to ensure that we have ethical AI. So we did a bit of demo there, right? So the problem was, how can we mitigate the biases in granting microcredit loan to various groups of people? Okay, so we have yeah, so we have time here. So we have demographics here from Southeast Asia, so which is mostly three different ethnicities and genders. Okay, so which is, I think, Chinese, Indian, and Malay, male, female, and students. And then credit is basically credit granting facility, and we have the data set here. Okay, so fields are like identifiers, loan ID, customer ID. Features are loan status, which is short term, long term, home ownership purpose. And numerical features is current credit score, years in employment, annual income, credit history, maximum open credit, bankruptcies, number of open accounts, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we the final predicted stuff should be microcredit eligibility. So if the particular demographic or particular nationality or person is eligible for microcredit, right? And these are some of the sensitive features, which is gender and ethnicity. Okay, so these are the features will be directly influenced by ethical AI frameworks, right? So gender and ethnicity, and of course there are certain other things like your pay grade, and your age group and all of that. But for our purpose, we have taken gender and ethnicity, and these are the features which the framework will mitigate. So in Azure there is a framework called as fair learn framework. So fair learn framework will be then able to step in. So you train your algorithm, you train your AI algorithm, and then the fair learn framework will come on top of it, and then it will see if there is some bias to be mitigated in sensitive features. So sensitive features for our data set we chose as gender and ethnicity, and we will see how fair learn will actually mitigate the bias. So there is a bias, fair learn will come in and look at the bias and then mitigate the bias. Okay. So yeah, so the gender bias, we are actually trying to calculate the bias and then try to mitigate the bias. Okay, so what we typically found was, more often than not, a Malay female was very prone to getting her microcredit eligibility as zero, which means that they are more prone to getting the credit. And it is they have a models. We tried XGBoost, logistic, right? And then we use fair learn framework, which is provided by Azure on top. So what it does, it evaluates the fairness, it mitigates their group biases, and then we can actually visualize the insight, like before and after sort of a thing. Okay. So what is fairlearn? It is a Python toolkit which is available in Azure, and it is an assessment of your fairness predictors, and then if there is an unfairness above a certain threshold, it will mitigate that unfairness. Okay. So so for example, how fairness is defined in fair learn, right? So which groups of individuals are at risk of experiencing harm, which is the most group which could be harmed or which could be suffering, which are termed as sensitive. Need to define the sensitive features in our data set. Now again, since it's a demo data set, we have very limited sensitive features, but in a real life scenario, the sensitive features could go on and on. Even for a microcredit sort of a scenario, you could have your status, like your annual pay scale, the type of profession you're working in. For example, typically marketing and sales earns a lot more than your probably a technical person. So those kind of pay parity, whether you are a student or not, or whether you were criminally charged some years ago or not. So these crime records and all, these are your sensitive features basically, right? And in a real life scenario, real life data set, these sensitive features could run into hundreds actually, right? So just for demoing fair learn framework and what are sensitive features and how mitigation biases work, I am taking in only two features, gender and ethnicity, in our data set. Okay. And then challenge in prioritizing fairness in models. These are some of the challenges in when I'm trying to make my AI model fair. So there could be many possible definitions, metrics, and subgroups, right? So we have to have a trade-off between fairness and model performance as well. So for example, to make my model very, very, very fair, it will have probably a very less accuracy if I'm trying to make my model very fair. So I have to balance it off between fairness and my model performance as well. So I still want high accuracy, but then it should not be biased towards particular classes, or it should not exclude a total category, all of totally. It should not totally end up excluding a certain category. So I need to strike that balance in, even in fairness, right? So we had this two methods: grid search, which is reduction algorithm, and the randomizer, so sort of adjusting the thresholds for checking your accuracy and also for giving out the inferences or scoring, final scoring. Okay. So sensitive features, as we already discussed, were gender and ethnicity, which is male, female, and ethnicity is Malay, Indian, and Chinese. And parity constraint is the demographic. So So what is demographic parity? It is a probability of different groups being selected are equal. Okay, so probability between different groups is equal. So Indian male versus a Chinese male, or Indian female versus a Malay parity, it will try to sort of balance it out. Okay. So yeah, so I'm not going into, like, let us directly go into the actual demo itself. So these are some of the technical stuff. Let us move into the demo itself. Right, so you know how the dashboard looks like. Hold on, let me make it full screen. Okay, so now, okay, this is right. But no, then I will lose. Okay, all right. So now this is the overview, right? And here you can see that I have, 4 models, right? So which is light GBM and logistic regression. And it is going to show me the model with greatest decrease in disparity after mitigation. Okay. And the category with greatest increase in selection rate. So prior to my framework, what was the case versus, which model has given me the most decrease in disparity after mitigation, right? So logistical regression is the model which has, decreased the disparity a lot, the maximum. And this is the category. Indian females is the category which, which not a lot. So there is a greater increase in the selection rate after mitigation was done. Okay. And the two algorithms, which techniques which we utilized, were threshold optimizer and grid search. These two techniques come in with the fair learn framework, right? And here you can actually see, like, features mitigated and then sensitive features. So here sensitive feature is gender. Okay, or I can select ethnicity as well, or I can select both as well. And then it will give me, like, logistical regression, what is the mitigation method used, and then what is the your parity difference, what is parity difference, and trade-off between precision and fairness of the models. And using that, it will actually, then zero down on which is the model with the greatest decrease in selection rate. And you can actually see that what is the parity difference, demographic parity difference, and which model gives you the best demographic parity difference. And here also you will be able to see, okay, the sensitive feature, ethnicity and gender, and what is the parity difference versus which models align in zone. Okay, which is parity, and precision are almost the same, right? So now let us move on to the fairness. Okay, so now in the fairness, it will give me what it has mitigated after mitigation, and change in change in yeah. So you can see, right, model one. So which is one is logistic regression, is, let's say, light boost. So here you can compare and contrast different models and the different mitigation methods. So light GPM, what is the increase in selection after mitigation, decrease in selection after mitigation. So even after mitigation, experience a decrease in their selection, right? Because probably they were overcompensated earlier, before the mitigation was done. Okay, so here also you can look at each and every of your models, and then then select what is the best one, and what gives you the best increase decrease, or what gives you the best parity and stuff like that. Okay, so here I think logistical regression will be the highest increase and the least mitigation. Then I go on to the accuracy matrix. Why it is a bit slow. Yeah. So accuracy, you'll be able to see, the accuracy metrics, which is accuracy, precision, and recall for all the different models using the mitigation, right? So light GPM for grid search, mitigating ethnicity, or light GPM for, XGBoost for threshold optimizer. So you'll be able to see the accuracy, precision, and recall for various techniques. Oh my god. Okay, so confusion matrix, you will be able to see it for ethnicity, and then you will be able to see it for gender plus ethnicity, and again for all the models. So first is false negatives, true positives, true negatives. So you'll be able to see that the rate of true negatives after mitigation is, uh, for example, see the light for light GPM, the true positives were 78.2%, but after mitigation, so there were certain, overcompensated cases which have now been mitigated, so the true positives have decreased, which means, there is actually a decrease in the accuracy of the model, but it has made the model more fair, okay, fairer, so it has mitigated some of the biases. And here you can actually test which model is causing the best accuracy as well, right? So what was the baseline model, and what is the result after mitigation, right? So XGBoost, what was the result, what was the mitigation model, right? So grid search, if I use, and what was the feature which was mitigated. So if you see XGBoost and grid search, it has increased the after mitigation, it has increased the accuracy slightly, right? So if I check for gender, then I will also be, now see, if it has mitigated gender, and you see that, before mitigation it is almost the same. So which means gender was one parameter which was not very biased, but ethnicity, yes, it was heavily biased, as you can see, right? The number of true positives have decreased here. So that way you can also, you can check, what you considered was accurate was actually accurate or not. So this is how you can actually get a view into what was going wrong before you mitigated it versus, what is the actual accuracy, or what is the reduced accuracy after you try to mitigate your model, and you have to make decisions accordingly. An evolving area. Fair learn is just one of the programmatic toolkits which we are able to apply to actually see mitigation in action. On platforms, there are such already frameworks which are already, inherently added to make the AI more fair. I just wanted to show you one a framework in action. So before mitigation, after mitigation sort of a thing, and how it can take a toll on our accuracy as you can do the trade-off between accuracy and fairness, right? So that's almost bring me back to my slide deck. Yeah, okay. So this is what, we have the evaluation. So if POC evaluations, what all characteristics we checkbox we ticked from the AI verified toolkit. So explainability, yes, as you see, we were able to explain all the different, variations, characteristics. We are able to do the mitigation, unintentional discrimination. We were able to have transparency. It can be repeated and repeated set of features as well. Safety, we don't know because it was a very limited data set. Accountability, definitely. Human agency and oversight, so some of the features are still, not completely checked, tick marked, and this is the scope for improvement even in for our a case. And that brings us to the end of our session, just, as we are nearing the hour. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to take. Vishwas, over to you.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, for such great insights. Of course, it's weekday, Monday
Hello,
morning.
Vishwas.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
No. Yes. Hello. This is the problem. The live
I
show.
can hear you, Vishwas. I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. So, hey friends, thanks for tuning in. This was a live show, and thanks for being part of it. Ethical AI is complex, so don't worry about it. So, chillax, just go with the flow, revisit this session again. I know you guys are puzzled up, but make sure that you understand the end to end of what is the principle behind building an ethical AI system. Then you will understand what is the actual impact that it can build on the production. And thank you so much, Priyanka, for being on the show. Means a lot. So this is Vishwas Nayan signing off from this live show. Meet you soon, folks. Bye.